G'day fellas, hello commanders, welcome back. Today we've got a bit of a fun video. We're doing a bit of a combination video. First and foremost, we're taking a look at this game that we've got here, and then second of all, we're going to be going through some frequently asked questions. You might be wondering, what are those frequently asked questions? Well, we've got frequent questions like, how are you, 30OS? This is a good one. This is a question that we see a lot, so definitely want to get that one out there. Now, we've got other good questions as well. This one here, Drungo is a selfish and self-absorbed player, too worried about making videos rather than playing as a team. Not really a question, but look, we'll include it in here as well. We've got another one here coming in from Nermal, who said, how are you 34OS when you can't even hand out T2 cons to your teammates within 10 minutes? Another good question. So today's video is going to be about, I guess, not necessarily addressing the haters, but more just talking about this. So for anyone who's unfamiliar with what this is actually talking about, by the way, we've got a whole bunch of other comments to talk about in here. And you can see we've already got some great advice coming in from our teammate here, 8Killer Muffin 8. Make fat better than hounds, I think. He's wrong. He's got no idea. He doesn't know the truth. Anyway, what do we got? So we got ourselves a game of glitters. And if you've been around for a while on this channel, you'll know that a game of glitters is quite rare. At least back in the beginning, it was very common that we'd play this map, we'd see it, we'd study it. But then we kind of switched over to Isthmus. And we've been playing that for a long time. But naturally, you look to move back home eventually. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm sort of getting into the groove. So I recently posted a video of myself playing on glitters. And one of the things I probably didn't disclose in that video, but that's literally the first time I have played glitters in like 2+ years. So I've got no idea what's going on, right? Like as an example, there's a geothermal vent over here now. Didn't know that. There you go. So there's like all these changes that have happened. That's obviously one of them. Another one is the change to the meta, right? Like the meta, the expectation of what you would expect an enemy to do or what you expect a player to do, or in this case, what you'd expect a position to do. And that's obviously something that changes over time and something that I don't really have familiarity with yet. Anyway, I posted a video. I thought what I was doing was something reasonable. Turns out what I was doing was not reasonable at all. So in this video that you're watching right here, you'll see me go through and hopefully correct those mistakes. There seems to be a common theme that was coming up, and that was definitely with regard to handing out T2s. So you'll see in this video that things obviously go a lot better. But let's talk about some of these questions. So we'll start off where we started off. So the first one that we're going to hit is, how are you 30OS? Now this is a really good question, right? Because you look at this game and you're like, okay, well you're 33OS, but you're not really doing much. And that makes a lot of sense. Now, first and foremost, I mean, OS, there's a reason why like games like Overwatch have different rankings for different positions. And that's because you get people that are hyper-focused. And like that, for example, is me. I am 100% hyper-focused. I play only Supreme Isthmus. I play typically one position, maybe 2 or 3, arguably, but mainly one. And I just focus on that, and I min-max on that position. And that kind of puts me in this little box that makes me 33 OS in that position, but if you put me on C, then all of a sudden I'm 26 OS, or you put me on a different map and all of a sudden I'm 12 OS. So that's essentially what this is. Now, of course, there's transferable skills, but that's essentially it. So further in saying that, OS is obviously a huge component of it is skill, but at the same time, a huge component of it is knowledge. And where we're coming at right now, we have not been reading Tai Lopez. We have not been reading Tai Lopez's books recently. We do not have a whole lot of knowledge about glitters, but of course, that's what this journey is all about. It's about learning as you go, trying to improve, and that's essentially where we're at right now. So to answer the question, how are you 30OS? Well, that's essentially it. As I said, these are the first games back that we've got. So what's our next question? Let's take a look and see what we've got here. Next question, not really a question, but we'll allow it. Drungo is a selfish and self-absorbed player. Too worried, it should be 2, we won't correct him. Too worried about making videos rather than playing as a team. You really need to play as a team on glitters. The crap he pulls on Supreme map is what has ruined bar for a lot of people. Now, there's a lot to address in here. First and foremost, selfish and self-absorbed player. Yeah, I would say so. I think in the past we were definitely a lot more selfish than what we currently are. I definitely feel like I'm a bit more of a team player than I am right now. But I go back to my old videos and I look at that, I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with that. Like the ones where we looked at Blopsum, aka, I can't remember what his name is right now, but yeah, Blopsum essentially. And we look at and study him from the eco position and how he played and how he lets his allies die and he still comes in and tries to save them. And we talked about Aphis. Anyway, the point is, yeah, I agree. I think I definitely used to be selfish and self-absorbed. Not so much anymore. And like in the game that you see here, what I feel like I'm doing here is definitely a team-focused thing, but what I did in that previous game that you commented on, I thought I was doing the right thing, right? Like I sent 4 Mausers to the front. I was like, this is a cool trick. You know, sending Mausers to the front, that's what works on Supreme. That's a cool idea. Let's try that. Maybe that works. Like I already know a little bit about the meta on this map. The whole idea that typically you want to send like one unit, like a Tsar or a Fat Boy to the front. You can see my ally commenting earlier saying, you know, Fat Boy is better than Hound as an example. And often you would see people rush those units and then put T2 out behind it. And I'll be honest with you, I thought that was going to work. It didn't work because, well, obviously that game was that game. We'll move on from it, but we'll continue on with your comments. Too worried about making videos rather than playing as a team. This is another thing that I see crop up quite a lot. So I will just address this right now. It is very difficult for your brain to do multiple things at once unless you're a woman, in which case 100% you can. But for me, I guess maybe that's probably the best way to say it. It is incredibly difficult to play, to think, to talk. And these are all different things, right? Like, when it comes to playing, you can know a build order and you can know how that build order works, but to explain it while you're doing it makes it very difficult. And that's part of the reason why this video right here, we are not watching me play. This is a replay, because I do not have the mental APM to both tell you what I'm thinking and at the same time play the game. And I think probably for the next videos that we do, we're not going to be doing any videos where I actually talk to you while I'm playing, simply because number one, it's very difficult, and number two, I don't play as well when I'm doing that. Basically because, well, I don't have the mental APM for it. Maybe when I've got a little bit more experience on this map, then 100% we can definitely get back to those videos. But for the moment, it just doesn't work, and that is evidently clear. So you can, and he goes on to say, you really need to play as a team on Glitters. The crap he pulls on Supreme map is what has ruined bar for a lot of people. I don't know exactly what this refers to specifically, because I feel like if anything with regard to Supreme, we've done pretty well to kind of, I mean, we've formalized a lot of the stuff, like with regard to the guide that we did. So as an example, if you play Supreme for the first or second time, people might often like tell you, hey, go check out this video, because it's a guide and it tells you how to play positions and what's expected from specific positions. So there's definitely that. We do also pull some silly strategies. Like as an example, we did the seaplane strategy that does relatively well. I don't really think there's an element of whole like APHIS spam at least anymore. So I don't know exactly about that. But anyway, thank you, Contrary Pagan, for the comments. Let's move on over to the next one. We got plenty more to get through. All right, this is a good one. Okay. How are you 34 OS when you can't even hand out T2 cons to your teammates within 10 minutes? That's nothing but an inflated OS earned in Supreme with zero clue how to manage glitters. And the funniest part, you keep telling yourself you did pretty darn good while failing the most basic job Eco has in glitters. This is a really good comment, and it hits the nail on the head 100%. First and foremost, absolutely, right? Like, we're 34 OS, we didn't hand out the T2 cons. Nothing but inflated OS earned in Supreme. Absolutely, 100%. But there's one thing that's missing here, and that's a knowledge gap. You know, as I sort of failed to initially say, this was my first game that I played on Glitters in a long time. So there's a knowledge gap there on the expectation of this position. I can tell you right now what happened on this position previously, back when I used to play it in the old days, is you would literally type in the chat, shop open. And what that basically means is, hey, T2 lab is up. If you want a T2 constructor, you need to pay me right now, because if you don't pay me, I'm going to reclaim my lab and I am going to move on with my life, and you're not going to get a T2. That was like, that was exactly what you would expect players would do. And that happened all the time. So I'm coming from that time when it comes to Glitters. And I remember when I came back and played Supreme, I did the exact same thing when I was playing in the Eco spot, and people were like, no, you got to give T2 to everyone, bro. That's how it works now. So like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is going back 2 years, back to when I previously played, the way that this, or like, that's completely different to what I did. And as I said, I probably should have explained that. So while yes, there's definitely a skill gap, there's also definitely a knowledge gap. And at the end you say, and the funniest part, you keep telling yourself you did pretty damn good while failing the most basic job Eco has in Glitters. Well, I think it's important that we look at what we can improve on, right? And obviously, when we're actually studying a replay by ourselves, we can look at objective things and we can say, okay, my build was good, or I think I did this well, and it can be hard to recognize what you do wrong, right? Which is, obviously it's important to look at replays, but there's also an element of it which is like, oh, well, you know, it's probably a good idea that you look over it with somebody else or get someone else's feedback on it. So I want to thank you for that. I still think that we did relatively well. The main issue that we had, which was very clear by the end of the video, because I went back and watched it, was that we got a little bit sidetracked when we were handing out T2s. We got out 4 Mausers, we got out our radar bot, we handed out T2, I think to 1 or 2 players. So I think it was like our back right player, and then at the same time our back, like our air player. And then I think we just kind of stopped handing out T2s, which obviously you shouldn't do. You should absolutely hand it out to the entirety of the team, which is what you'll see me doing in this game here. We're at 7 minutes at the moment. I don't know how many T2s we've handed out, but I think we're doing a relatively good job so far. So we've got 3 T2 mexes up at this stage. So actually, let's take just a quick break right here from the questions and the player cam. So we've got T2 that's over here on our air player. A little bit of a mistake right here. I think this T2 should probably be over here, but it's a small detail. And then we've got T2 over here in the back corner, and then we've got T2 coming up to orange right now. So we're at 3 players right now at 7 minutes, which I think is pretty decent. We're up against OS27 on the back line on the other side of the map. How is he doing for T2? So he's handed out T2 to air, and do we have T2 over here? Doesn't look like T2's here just yet. Has he done T2 to the fronts? Okay, so at the very least, we're like a little bit ahead of him. Now, of course, he's got different circumstances, right? And he's looks like he's playing units right here, and you can see Top Feet saying paid over here, so getting a little bit of assistance. I think we've also got quite a bit of metal in this game as well. So, yeah, I think we're doing relatively well here in this game. But as I said, like, right, this is one of those things where it's like feedback obviously is incredibly important, and like just the small little detail of, hey, by the way, your number one requirement here is you got to pay for all, or you got to make all the T2s. Oh yeah, okay, thank you. That's probably a good point. Anyway, let's move on to our next question. Let me take a look and see what we've got. Okay, we have got, we got bad game, looks like failing the basics of your role to me. And I think that's, you know, similar to what we've talked about already, right? Like when it comes to what's the role of tech on this map. You know, if we go back 2 years, very much it's to be the carry of your team, whereas now it's very much to be the guy who is going T2 very fast, and then at the same time is providing T2 for your team, your allies. I think you want to be omnipresent in all lanes. You should be watching all lanes. It's very much a team captain kind of role is the way I kind of envision it, because you should be able to recognize, okay, which lane needs help, which lane can I put pressure in, and subsequently do that. So it's very much a role that you probably shouldn't be focused on like just 100% scaling at least anymore, because that's how it was back in the good old days. Back in the good old days, it was forget about your team, just do that. And things have obviously changed. So I think this is a pretty decent point here. Let's move on to the next one. Next point is, this is the worst I've seen you play in a while. And one of the comments that comes in, by the way, can we just talk about the YouTube AI and the recommendations it gives? Yeah, not my finest moment for sure. Definitely wasn't my A game on display. Oh, YouTube AI absolutely knows what is up. And then we've got hyper optimized. This is one of the responses. Hyper optimized for one map. They need some rotato in their life. And I think that's exactly what I'm attempting to do right here, right now. Right, by playing glitters, this is me branching out and saying, well, look, I am a little bit aware of the fact that I only play Isthmus, and I prefer to play basically 2 spots, Eco and Geo. That's pretty much it. I don't really like to venture outside of that. And because of that, I get siloed in on my skill. And I want to avoid that happening. I want to try and branch out. I want to try and get better as a player. And so that means naturally I'm going to branch out. I'm going to come over to glitters, see if I can work some stuff out over here. And so to say that it's the worst that you've seen me play in a while is absolutely fair. And I agree. That was the worst that I've played in a while. Hopefully this game's looking a little bit better though, right? Like we've got all of our T2s that are coming out. We've got our 5th mechs that's coming out right here. I think we've handed off T2 to pretty much all of, yeah, so you can see we're going to, this is our 5th T2 that we're handing out here. And then we're going to hand it off to Canyon. I don't actually know the order, because I know, like, on Supreme, there's a very specific order that you follow, right? Like, you would go, your T2 goes to Air, unless Geo has requested it, in which case Geo always gets the first T2. So it would go Geo, then Air, and then after Air, it would go to Geo C, and then Pond, and then Long C, or Beach C. So that would essentially be the order. So I don't know if there's an order here. If there is, please let me know down below. Because, yeah, as I said, we're doing our best to improve it over here. Ideally, I'd like to make some guides on glitters eventually, once our skill level gets up to a reasonable threshold. Let's take a look at what the next one is. Okay, here we go. We got one coming in saying, okay, normally I approve of the Drongo, and I'm only 16 OS. But here, Drongo, you gotta realize that giving T2 cons out immediately instead of a couple T2 units is gonna be so much more impactful. I get the T2 is killing units, but the impact is not enough over double the eco for your teammates. And I think it's a really good point as well, and it kind of leans into another comment that we get a little bit later on. Here, this one comes through from Paul, so I'll read these two in tandem. Mostly Fatboy meta in higher OS lobby, so that's before T2 cons, which kind of ruins the game in my opinion. Making T2 cons for the whole team gives so much value, just tap and go. If front looks good, you just do what you do best. 4 fusions on basic solars into APHIS and outscale them. Hope you do some more All the Glitters and other maps. I really like your content. PS, sharing is caring. And once again, AI comments, can we just take a look at these? I agree that it's very strong to mass T2 constructors. Good job, AI. So just talking about this, so Commander, I was aware of like what the high OS lobbies were doing. Basically that when it came to glitters, you would feed metal to your tech player and they would transport either a fat boy or a SAR to the front line. And so when I sat down and played that game, I was like, okay, well, you know, that's kind of the same thing that we do in Supreme. Like sometimes Pond will feed the tech player and ask for a unit like that. So maybe Mausers will work in this situation. You know, we'll get out some Mausers for the front and then we'll hand out T2s. Obviously, I just kind of forgot to hand out T2s, so that's 100% on me. But I think a lot of what we saw just stems from that fact. So hopefully we've been able to sort of address the T2s. We'll get them out of the way. That definitely seems like what most people we're talking about. We've actually got one more comment on it before we get into the rest of the video as well. So let's take a look at that. Your slow and non-existent T2 con sharing and teammate reactions to the resulted in the loss and criticism from teammates. Initially, you gave out only one T2 con after getting 1200M, including 270 from Red, who received nothing, made councils to reward the tan donation but didn't share them, idled the lab uploading 1500 metal before sharing 2 more cons, all while Orange was asking you for and never received theirs. Red built T2 early because no con was shared, and lost front control with the delay in unit production. Kenyon was on T1 eco too long and got run over. That's on you, rather than all welcome lobby. And we can see a comment response here from Van Velder saying, I really hate how Drongo never reads the chat. Like, the chat is non-existent for him. And I just want to really chime in on this, because as I mentioned earlier in the video, and it's part of the reason why we're doing what we're doing right here with we're watching a replay, it's already so hard to keep track of everything. Right? Like, I'm not going to tell you try and do it yourself, because that's not reasonable. I've got a lot more experience doing this than most people, so naturally I'm going to be a little bit better at it, but it is so incredibly hard. Like, have you ever been playing a game and someone has come into the room and tried talking to you, and you're in the middle of a game, like an active fight? Do you know how fucking hard it is to focus when you've got your wife or your mum or your brother or sister or a friend talking to you like you're just doing nothing? It's the exact same thing, except you're doing it constantly through the whole freaking game, trying to explain thought processes. And one of the things that goes, like, your brain starts chopping things out that it doesn't need, right? Like, so you chop out all of these different things that you don't need. And one, like, the first thing that goes is chat. Like, and sometimes you'll read chat, but not all the time will you read chat. And because of that, it's just like, and that's part of the reason why we're doing this right now, because in this game, I read the chat. I'm like, hey, like, I think he says, Kenyon needs help. So there's a point that's actually coming up here where Kenyon will need help. And we will specifically go and help them because I saw the chat message, whereas if I was you know, actually recording the game while playing, wouldn't have happened at all. So yeah, this is 100% a fair point. And as I said, like, once we get more competent in our position on this map, then we can definitely do it. But at the moment, when you're trying to learn a new map, trying to learn a new position, trying to learn a new, you know, everything, it's just one of those things where it's just like you get overwhelmed, I think is the best way to say it. We got one here from Relative 111 saying, Drongo getting grilled here in the comments. And I mean, that's just it, and that's part of the job, isn't it, right? Like, you're gonna put content out that people like, you're gonna put content out that you probably shouldn't have put out, and I mean, that's it, right? Like, sometimes you get them, sometimes you get got. So yeah, 100%. What else have we got in here? Okay, so this will be our last one for the moment. Okay, so I should say this will be the last one for today, and then we'll just keep watching we'll keep watching the game. Hi, Drongo. I'm glad to see you playing Bar again, as I was worried that you felt bullied out of playing it in the past. So it's good to see you're in it again, but your play shows some pretty severe problems, which you basically blamed the team for, but it was really your fault. So I specifically wanted to post this because I'd seen this coming up before. I saw people post about it in the Discord, and I saw other comments from it, and I thought, you know what, it's probably time to, well, not time to address this, but just I want to talk about it. I want to get it out there so that people can say, oh no, he explained it here. I never quit Bar because I was being bullied. I don't remember ever being bullied, right? Like, I know that people would say, like, oh, you're being a Drongo, and they'd use that term, and to be honest, I found it quite endearing. I like it. the fact that the community uses that term for someone who just recklessly focuses on their economy. But yeah, I was never bullied. Essentially what happened when I had the previous break from Bar, I upgraded my computer. I went from a 3090 graphics card to a 4090 graphics card. And when I did that, basically what happened is Bar stopped working in full screen borderless mode. Even right now, in this game that we're watching right here, it's not full screen borderless mode. Let me show you what I actually see on my screen. This is what I'm looking at. And I've been looking at this ever since I changed my graphics card 2 years ago. And you might say, well, Drongo, that's okay. It's only a white bar at the top of your screen that says Beyond All Reason, Spring 2025, 0611. My brother in Christ, I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I have autism. That is absolutely not okay with me. Holy fuck. The amount of time I spent trying to fix that, it is a gargantuan amount of time. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to fix it. And like, when it like, you can be passionate about something, but when you've got autism, like, it doesn't, it comes down to the texture, man. And like, the texture was just killing me. Anyway, for those people who have got it, people who've got like autism or understand where I'm coming from, it'll probably make sense. Everybody else will just be like, well, why don't you just play with the way that it is? Well, that's just how it is. So yeah. Anyway, that was why I stopped playing. The reason why I started playing again? This is actually quite interesting because I logged into this channel. I was like, okay, I was planning on uploading game or videos for other games in this channel, and I saw that I had a couple of unuploaded videos. They were just kind of sitting there, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'll upload these videos. And then so I immediately just pushed them live. I sent a message in the Discord. I'm like, hey guys, I'm uploading some really old videos. I thought you might want to watch them. I'm not coming back. I'm just letting you know, like, just to explain what's happening. And anyway, like I like logged back in and I was going to upload the videos for the other game. And then I was like, oh, like I'm kind of in the mood to play Beyond All Reason right now. You know, like sometimes you get into it and you're like, I was watching the video back. I'm like, man, this is, you know, I miss this game. And then I remembered everything that I went through. But then I was like, I'm still kind of curious to see how the game plays now, like how the updates have gone, how it looks, how it feels, all that kind of stuff. And here we are. And this is it. So yeah, I don't know how many months I've been playing for now. I've been having, you know, quite a bit of fun. I had a break recently. That was because I just uploaded a whole bunch of videos, and well, I just kind of left it for a bit. But yeah, we're back now, and that's essentially it. Other than that, is there anything else to talk about with this? Oh yeah, so this actual comment that got left. So if I was to show you the whole comment, so that's the comment with the with like, I don't know, the preview, and then like this is the whole comment. So if you want to read it, that's fine. But like I saw that and I was just like, I ain't reading all that. I'm happy for you though. Well, sorry, what happened? Like that was a lot of writing. I'm gonna put it out there. That was a lot of writing. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's take a look at this game. So as you can see, we've managed to do quite a bit of work. If you've been paying attention, we've handed out all of our T2s. We've got our snipers up here on the front. And one of the key things to note now is that the enemy is starting to be pushed, or rather we're starting to be pushed in the canyon, which is kind of what you expect. We're also adding in more units. Now, another comment that I see, Drongo, please watch this. You can see it come, the request. Have a watch of this. Make a little bit of a mistake right here. I'm like, all right, I'm trying to get my sniper into position. He's not really like getting around there, and the fat boy shot comes out. Oh, right on the noggin. Right on the noggin. That's powerful. It's painful, but it happens. You can see me in the chat saying, yo, Lamau, indeed. So now we got to send over our other sniper. So I kind of like just having snipers in multiple lanes. So we've shared this sniper here with Dexter. We've also shared the fat boy that we've got right here with Crew's face. And hopefully, so yeah, one of the things that people were saying is like, don't be afraid to just like hand over your T2. And the reason why I'm so afraid to hand over the T2 is because I come from Supreme Isthmus. And that was like, when you think about Supreme Isthmus, right, you have got this tiny little narrow choke point that's literally this wide. So it's quite easy to micro back and forward. But here you've got so many fronts, and it means that you can't really, what's the best way to say it? You can't really focus on all of these different fronts. So what I'm basically doing is I've got my snipers, they're on hold fire. And essentially, I keep them invisible or cloaked the entire time that they're here, and I use them to focus down specific targets. That's literally it. In this circumstance, like as I said, I've handed it off. But for the most part, that's essentially what I'm doing. So now he's going to come back in. Meanwhile, back behind the scenes, so we're doing quite a bit of win spam. I don't know whether or not this is one of those accepted things on glitters, but like,
Commander destroyed.
There's a lot of space here, so I was like, okay, we can probably work with it. You can see the enemy here. They've brought their jammer up. They've also got the compass here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to set the the attack command onto this fat boy specifically. And then as long as we've got line of sight, we'll be okay. And if line of sight drops like that, we lose the set command. But of course, we can just target the ground. And of course, we know exactly where he was standing. So we just focus behind him and boom, boom, there he goes. So fat boy is dealt with. So I think this is probably one of the things that I will start doing on glitters is if people, well, I'll be opening with the T2 bot lab. I think this is the best choice because number one, it's probably the best bot, or it's probably the best lab with regard to T2 constructors, right? Like they're cheaper. Yeah, they're a little bit slower, but just the fact that they're cheaper, it means that you can get them out to your allies. But then in the event that I see fat boys, or in the event that I see Zars coming out, sorry, I was going to call them Goliaths, but I quickly corrected myself. I'm thinking I'll just move into snipers to try and counter them from the back line. Because, you know, as was discussed in the previous videos, I was throwing out the idea, you know, is it a good idea that I even play Eco on this map with this high of an OS? Especially considering the fact that, you know, I'm not really familiar with it. I think the truth is we can probably get away with it. We've just got to be a little bit more attentive to our allies. We really have to try and... We need to scale, but at the same time, we need to be aware of what's going on around us. And I think that's really key. So that's essentially where we're at right now. We're going to make sure that we always keep these snipers just ready. We're only looking for high-value targets with these snipers. If any lane starts to get pushed, then we'll make sure that we come up and provide a little bit more resistance back towards the base. So you can see, like, there's one thing missing in this base, and I don't know whether or not you can see it just yet, but we're 17 minutes into this game, and I've forgotten to make one of the most important buildings that you can make in Beyond All Reason. Do you recognize what it is? Yeah, it's the anti-nuke. It's something that I'm infamous for forgetting, and something that I'll continue to work to improve on, but don't worry, our allies do remind us. But let's check in over on the other side and see how they're doing. So we're arguably a little bit behind, especially considering the first of the APHIS are coming up for our opponent in the back line. So, of course, we're going to assume that he's basically handed out T2. That's interesting. Handed out T2 to all of his allies. And because of that, we're going to be relatively even, right? Now, there's obviously going to be differences. Like, we saw him making spiders earlier. We never made spiders, but we've made snipers. We've made fat boys to try and assist the front a little bit. And you can see now he is... Interestingly, he's keeping the advanced bot lab while making an APHIS, and I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, back towards our side. So we still haven't even finished our first fusion yet, so we're only throwing that down, and that's the consequence of going for these wind turbines. So if we look right now at our energy, we're at 6.6k. Compared to him, he's at 3.2k. So even when he finishes this APHIS, we're still going to be ahead of him at this point, and wind is only sitting at 10, below 10 right now, and we're still that far ahead. So I guess the key that I'm trying to raise here, oh, he's gone for the umbrella. That's an interesting choice to go for the umbrella. I feel like umbrella on this map probably doesn't make as much sense. Though I guess you do get to use the build power from the bot lab. Okay, so as soon as the, interestingly, as soon as this APHIS is finished, he's going to start spamming sprinters to the front. Now, keep in mind, he's OS 27, which is pretty decent, right? Like, it's not terrible, don't get me wrong, but, I mean, I'm sure that's probably better than, like, what, 90% of the bar community? So... I guess that's relatively good. Okay, so meanwhile, back towards our base, we still haven't realized our fact, and I'm scaling. So I think probably the best bet is to go for 5 across. 5 across is quite good, just because if you're going for APHIS, like 3 deep right there, it will allow all of them to hit. So you can see we hit the first 2, and then that last row is not going to hit the third APHIS, but it should be able to help build more of this. Basically, if you've got idle nanos, means that you can be focused on balancing that out with the advanced converters. So now I think it really comes down to, like, what's the best way to win on glitters, right? Like, if I was to go back into the good old days, I remember putting down, you know, the Ragnarok up on this position right here and just letting it fire, letting it rip into the enemy's bases. And they're taking a similar approach in this game. I don't know whether or not, yeah, we don't see it just yet, but they do look to put down some long-range plasma cannons in this game. We're also very fortunate that our air is quite competent, so that we don't have to worry too much about the enemy air. It's always terrible when you see the bombing run coming in and you look at your air player and there's just nothing, and you're like, oh, okay, good luck. Curious lack of nanos that are in here. I guess he's got the 2 labs though. 6 nanos, 2 labs. Okay, 7, I guess 7 nanos technically. Not normally what you'd see on this map, at least on, well, sorry, I shouldn't say on this map, but at this timing on a map like Supreme, as an example. So, I don't know whether or not I'm going to continue with wind on this map, because your butlers kind of run out of things to do, right? Like, we built all of our wind, and we've got them up, and I think, like, we're in a really good point right now, but what do we do with the butlers? Like, we can bring them back and, like, help build out the fusions. We can send them to the front to go build pork. But at the end of the day, like, we need something for them to do, like whether that's energy converters. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of space on this map, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable taking it. Like, I don't want to go put energy converters in this guy's base. You can see it being called out now. No anti-nuke. So, yes, a little bit late to the party, we were. I mean, how's anti-nuke for everybody else? Anti-nuke for everybody else is looking decent. Yes, make nuke. Yeah, we may have forgotten. You can see the enemy team has got plenty, well, I say plenty of anti-nukes. Is it really only the one? No, there's a second one. It's not showing up 100%, but they're only just doing it now. So, I guess that comes from... one of the things to remember is when you're playing on Supreme in the high OS lobbies, nukes are very uncommon. There's like a few players that are known for nuking, so you just build anti-nuke against them early. Otherwise, you just leave anti-nuke till like 18, 19 minutes. That's quite normal. But yes, it's probably not the best behavior, but it's just the kind of thing. And I think on this map especially, scouting feels a lot more difficult because you've got that entire fighter wall that's just flying along here constantly. So you do need to be very aware of that. But at the same token, I guess that also means that we can potentially go for anti-nukes, or go for nukes ourselves, if we want to try and rush it out. So now that I think about it, like, maybe it's not a good idea. Like, if we think about the greed position, like, the carry positions are definitely front. There's no two ways about it. These two spots get the most resources by far. Both orange as well as yellow. I feel like yellow's probably got the best spot as well. By the way, can we talk about these nanos on the front? Absolutely beautiful. I think yellow's got the best spot because they're kind of up against Canyon, and Canyon isn't that good, right? Like, you don't really expect the Canyon to win. We can see right here, the enemy blue player, 31 OS, losing against the 21 OS. On our team. And the reality is you've just got more resources on this side of the map to take advantage of and push into here. And that kind of forces this this imbalance between the two sides. And obviously it happens by the same token over here, but it definitely feels like the best spot to play is probably one of these two front positions, just because you've got all those extra resources, particularly this one here, because you're going to have less resistance against the enemy. But checking back in on the back line, it's a bit of a slow build-up right here. It definitely feels like a more slow game as well than on Isthmus. I think when you're playing on Isthmus, you can see we're coming forward right here. I was looking for his commander, but right as it happened, we stopped getting line of sight. So we had like scout units that were running through, and they've just stopped coming through. So I don't know whether or not it was a Juno, or whether he just stopped making them. But yeah, we had to evacuate out from here because I was like, okay, I was confident we can get the commander if we could see him. As you can see, we're on hold fire once again. I think it's so important to keep your snipers or sharpshooters on hold fire, just because it really keeps them as like secret agents. They don't know about them until, boom, you come out and you just eliminate your target straight away. If we can hit that commander as well on the noggin, we can do a lot of damage in here. Like if he's standing right here, boom, it's all gone. So that was essentially my thinking. But yeah, you know, if we'd stuck around for a little bit longer, maybe we could have actually hit him. Yeah, as you can see, unfortunately not able to find it right there. But I think it's small things like this that definitely help out. The sharpshooters in particular are quite effective. So the next stage of the game is very much about, okay, how do we transition out of this? Because like we've done a decent job with regard to economy. How are we doing in regard to our economy actually? So we're sitting at about 9k energy compared to the 9k of our opponent. We're at 160 metal, he's at 153. So look, we're about even with him, which to me indicates that we're not doing well. Because typically whenever I'm like, the way I try and think about it is we should always be doing better than average. So there's definitely improvements that we can still continue to make to whatever it is that we need to do, whether that's build order, whether that's priority, whether that's maybe getting our fusion up a little bit faster. Maybe that's not going for as many butlers at the very least. Like maybe we only go for 6 butlers and just scale energy on wins a little bit rather than a whole lot. That's another factor for us to consider. But meanwhile, towards the back, we do have the T3 lab coming down. So this is, I don't know if this is relatively early, 22 minutes. It's off 2 APHIS. I definitely don't feel like this is early, but as I said, when it comes to the maps, it depends on so many different factors. So this will have to be something that I work out. We've got the APHIS that's now coming out, or coming down as well. We're going to do a little bit of reclaiming. This is something that I quite often do on Isthmus because I've got so much space. I'm easily able to reclaim these fusions because I can just put a T1 converter next to them, blow up the T1 converter, and that's going to allow me to reduce the health on the fusions and subsequently reclaim them almost instantly, and we can infuse that metal straight away. We're not able to do that here just because it really feels like we're lacking quite a bit of space. So because of that, we're going to have to play it out a little bit differently. We've still got plenty of butlers here that we're going to be able to utilize their build power for. And now we check in back over towards the front as the LRPCs begin to come down. And I tell you what, I totally underestimated how much range these bad boys have got. It is ridiculous how far they could reach. I heard the sound of the shot when it landed, and then I was like, oh my god, like that is incredibly far. If we take a look at the player view right now, he's immediately going to focus on the front instead. I'm surprised that he's focusing here, but you can see, does it not show where the attack range? Why does it not show the attack range? Anyway, it can attack really far. Why is it only showing the attack range for some of these things? Is it because it's showing enemy attack range or something like that? Maybe if we click this, still doesn't show it, unfortunately. I don't know what I've done. I must have done something that unfortunately did that. I just realized, why is the replay going so slow? I'm looking down at the clock. I'm like, we've been going for 33 minutes, but this game's only 23 minutes in. We haven't been watching it on 0.5x speed, have we? There's no way. Has the replay just been going for... No, that doesn't make sense. Do I 2x it? Maybe I 2x it. I was going to say it felt a little bit slow. Like, some of the animations looked really, really slow. And so now I'm sitting here wondering, okay, have we just been watching it on a slow speed all this time? It says speed set to 2.0, so this is 2x speed that we're watching right now. So I don't know exactly what's happened, but yeah, this shouldn't have been 35 minutes. This game doesn't go for 35 minutes. I was thinking, okay, we're going to be in and out after 31 minutes. But it's all right. We'll spend a little bit more time talking to each other. Actually, we might just speed this up right here, right now. So after the fusion, so when T3 gets called out, so there's a whole bunch of T3 in the back here, and this is like something that immediately... Like, you get a little bit scared of when you hear that sound, but there's so many ways to counter T3, and often, like, I think my ally even flagged me out, and he's like, hey, we're going to need T3 soon. Yeah, you will need T3 units soon. So the same guy who recommended Fat Boys over Hounds, I don't know if we can trust him. He seems pretty on the nose, or pretty on the money, though, so we'll give it to him. And right as he says that, you'll need T3 units soon, we see the T3 units start to come out from the enemy. And Marauders are great. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Marauders, but on this map, it feels so difficult to justify them, right? Like, you've got a lot of commanders, a lot of pork. There's not many options for them to come through, and we can see now, it looks like probably 15 to 20 Marauders that are going to come through out here. So our natural reaction, we're going into air, is to start spamming out Wasps. We want to get Wasp out there, because Wasps will be quite effective against these in the event that they do make it past here. The Commander's here, does it pretty well. He's got plenty of trash in there, blocks it all up. And one of the key things that we're going to do, before we send the Wasps in, because we don't know how many Wasps there are, we don't want to reveal to the enemy. By the way, there's the LRPC. I was like, ain't no way, look at that. I mean, it shouldn't really be going that far. I think it's bounced off the bubble. But yeah, that was essentially it. So I always hand over my air units to the air player whenever I'm doing something like that, because I don't want to reveal my hand. If we look on the enemy team, they don't know what we're doing, right? Like, the truth is, we could be going for T3, we could be going for, like, nukes or something, I don't know. But we could be going for an LRPC ourselves. There are lots of different things that we can do, but if they know, oh, he's air, what are they going to do? What's their response? They're going to go air as well. They're going to make flak. They're going to know, hold on, there's a resource imbalance. And you can see Samsonite Mine saying, how was he top OS? I think he's talking about the blue player in here. It's not so much that he's top OS. Like, this is the same reason that we see top OS players on Supreme sometimes play Beach C. It's they play the weakest position so that it doesn't fall as fast. Right, like, you could put him here and he's going to do very well in pushing this down. But at the same time, he's probably played enough games to know that it doesn't matter how hard he pushes, this will always fall really quickly. So if he puts himself here, then hopefully it won't fall as fast. That's the thinking behind it. At least that's where I suspect he's coming from. So now at this stage, you can see that we've got quite a bit of APHIS coming up. We've got 4 APHIS coming down on the side of our opponent. We're at 3 APHIS, but we're spamming. And my game plan is always the same when it comes to this kind of thing. If we want to go all in, we want to make sure this works. So how are we going to do that? We're going to spam out a whole bunch of bombers. We want to get those T2 things in right now.
Destroyed.
And so, one of the things that I like to do, you want to send out just a first initial wave. I always like to, once again, send them over to our ally. I don't know whether or not we've actually sent that initial wave into the enemy. It's hard to tell exactly, but we want to send the initial wave and we don't show that they're our units. So here we go. So we're going to send all of our fighters down and we hand all of the fighters over once again to our air player. So if you look from the perspective of the enemy, all they're going to see is a whole bunch of air player fighters. So they still don't know that these are our fighters and that we're doing this. They're not going to call out double air. They're not going to call out build flax now. All they're going to do is go, man, that air player, he's sure getting outmatched on our team. So I've told my ally, let them go in. The whole idea is we just want these to come in. We want to scout, but at the same time, we want to clear out any of the anti-air from the opponent that's in the air already. We want to see where the good targets are. And as you can see, we do get some eyes on some very juicy targets here at the back. We also see the air players also going for an APHIS. It's going to be a while before he actually gets it up, but that's going to be more than enough information. Meanwhile, behind this, all we're going to do, we're going to spam out a whole bunch of fighters, make sure that we've got as many as we possibly can. Before we commit, we want to, ideally we want to go up to like 50 to 100 fighters again, just because the enemy's going to be rebuilding fighters as well. So we have to do our best to just make sure that we mass up plenty of them. And now from their perspective, that's going to be our main target, heading towards the back base. And now all of a sudden we have revealed that we are in fact playing air as well. So now it's double air. And realistically at this stage, what is the enemy eco contributed? He contributed some T3. There wasn't a whole lot of success there. There probably could have been. Maybe if he'd waited for a little bit longer, or if he hadn't run into a commander. But I think that's one of the consequences of playing on this map, is that you will run into commanders. And you can see the call coming out right now, GG's, and GG coming out, Spike typing that in. T3 is great on this map, but I still think air is particularly quite strong. So we'll be looking to play into this a little bit more. I will warn you guys right now, I will be changing my name, so you won't be able to find me as easy. I will be lurking. I'll be playing plenty of games, and I'll be doing my best. But in the end, we're able to see that APHIS go boom. We're able to take it out. And of course, we split the groups up. Whenever we're attacking, we never want to send all of our bombers to the same area. We always want to split them up, a primary target and a secondary target. This is our primary target. We're going to micro this. This is our secondary target. We're just going to do a nice little, I don't know whether we can do it or not from here, but essentially we're just going to go like attack and then do one of these and just let them all go. And now that we've done that, we've got our primary target. They've been killed. So now we can go after our next primary target. And of course, that's going to be the other guy in the back. And of course, that's going to mean his death. And with that comes good game, because, well, once the APHIS goes boom, there's really no room to try and get back into the game. So that's 2 of the backline players down, and we're absolutely okay. We kept our secret until the 31st minute of the game. They never knew we were going air, and double air in the end. You can see Zaga saying, unfortunately, yeah, double air in the end, and that's just it, right? They didn't realize until that last second. So just very much keeping our secret close to it, our chest. Work of the best indeed, my friend. Look, took us a while, but we got there. Only a couple games, but we'll get here eventually. We'll learn the meta of this map, and we'll do our best to dominate. But let's take a look at the final. Is it going to show us? The final... It's not going to show us? Oh, there we go. So we slept the longest, 13 minutes. That's a good little sleep right there. And most resources. I don't know how we got most resources. I'll be real with you. I felt like we did not... I guess the wins were doing work, weren't they? Yeah, we didn't go too crazy. I'm curious what your thoughts are about the wins, though. Are they too intrusive? Is there too many of them? Could we afford to go more? Like, even looking at this, I feel like I could have just filled this up with wins. And if my allies say anything, just give them the wins over. Right? Like, even down here, this is fine. But each player is going to be different. Players play different games. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll leave it there. We'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. And I'm happy for you, though. Well, sorry that it happened. I ain't reading all that.